Well, is Mitt feeling misty for Christie? Well, not quite, but Mitt Romney seems to be saying enough of this conservative pile-on over Christie and on Christie. Mitt Romney telling our own Chris Wallace that he is responsible for losing to Barack Obama. Mitt Romney, not Chris Christie, not the New Jersey governor famous for his Hurricane Sandy embracing of Barack Obama.
I'm not going to worry about how Chris was doing what he thought was best for the people of his state. I lost my election because of my campaign, not because of what anyone else did. We have to do a better job bringing minority voters in to vote for Republicans. And that's Hispanic Americans, African Americans, other minorities. We've got to do a better job.
Well, does the loser have some good advice for how the next Republican nominee can turn things around and be a winner? Ron Meyer, Monica Mehta, and Julie Roginsky are here. Ron, should Republicans take his cue?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he actually has some good points. Despite losing, he actually has some good retrospection on this. The fact of the matter is, we didn't door knock in emerging communities, especially in places like Northern Virginia and Ohio, where we got hammered. The fact of the matter is, we lost Asians and Hispanics 70-30, and we lost African Americans by even more than that. We lost young people 60-40. The fact of the matter is, we're not on campuses, we're not in these communities, and how are people supposed to trust you, think you care about them, when they've never seen you, they've never seen people that work for you, they've never seen people who are volunteering for you? How are they supposed to trust you? So I think he absolutely has it right. We need a better outreach strategy. We need to actually have some credibility, not just show up the day before the election and say, hey, we're here, vote for us. Actually go up and make friends.
We're going to speak Spanish at an event. You know, Monica, the one thing I thought of listening to Governor Romney was, I don't care whether they're on the left or right, he's a class act, I think. But having said that,
absolutely.
I do think that there was something that what he said about Chris Christie, he was almost sending out a warning. However you feel he might or might not have impacted my race, and apparently the governor's, Romney seems to feel it didn't. It was his screw up. Then is he warning Republicans not to push a guy like Christie aside or not invite him to events because it looks self-defeating?
Yes, I think there very much is that message. I think in the last campaign, the Republicans really missed out on the moderate voters, and the moderate voters are the ones that often don't want you in their pocketbook, and they also don't want you in their personal life. And so some of these social issues...
And that's the balancing line that Christie walks, right?
Christie walks whatever walk he wants to walk, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. And it's the free thinking and willingness to piss off the base that I think the Republican Party really needs to embrace and push forward, because even McCain changed his tone when he went onto the national spectrum. Romney changed his tone. He was far more moderate before, and I think it's to the detriment of everyone.
But, you know, Julie, you've kind of educated me about both parties' nominees. The Republicans run to the right, and the Democrats run to the left. They rush back or try to in the middle. But the more they kind of pull this sort of stuff, I think what Romney seems to be saying is the Republicans certainly risk the mainstream voter, the moderate voter.
Well, there seems to be, and it's been a while since we've sat through a Democratic primary, but I don't remember this kind of litmus test that you had in the Democratic primary between Obama and Hillary on substantive issues that I saw last year during the Republican primary.
Well, I mean, they were both arguing out on the left.
They were both,
yeah,
exactly right. But I mean, it wasn't that you had to absolutely, Mitt Romney had to completely take his Massachusetts record and just tear it up essentially and come out against Romneycare by virtue of coming out against Obamacare, say that he wasn't going to support a balanced
But
budget.
the argument was, had he not done, and it's a traditional argument that Democrats have to pull this on the left, that you can never get past your party's nomination.
Well,
so with Christie alienated the conservative base, he can't get past that to ever get elected.
But look, you know, look at what Christie's doing in New Jersey. I actually happen to know Chris Christie quite well, and actually happen to like Chris Christie as a Democrat. I mean, the reason I like Chris Christie is because he's espoused a lot of the same values that I believe in as a Democrat. You don't have any.
But that's going to make everyone here kind of rethink the whole
it may make people rethink it, but I'll tell you something. If you guys want to be competitive in 4 years, you got to look at.
What do you make of that?
Every single voter out there is making choices. They're either deciding, I'm going to go with my moral take, I'm going to go with my quantitative take or financial take. Better economy means more to me versus my personal rights. And I think on both sides, you've got black people who are overwhelmingly against abortion, but they're voting Democratic. And so I think across the spectrum, people are making choices, and we have to make it easier for them
that's a good
to
point.
support
But you
this
know,
party.
Ron, I look back at what Romney was saying. I look at, you know, yes, he lost, and the electoral vote, he lost a lot. But he didn't get annihilated. He got 40, oddly enough, 47% of the vote. But having said that, it was not as if it was a landslide. So I'm wondering if they're, for lack of a better term, Republicans are mea culping too much here. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there's a point to that. I think with Chris Christie especially, I actually don't think he didn't get invited because he's a moderate. I mean, the people who run CPAC, frankly, aren't all from super conservative circles. Al Cardenas, who runs CPAC, endorsed Charlie Crist, campaigned for Charlie Crist against Marco Rubio. They've invited an MSNBC contributor there who's a liberal. I mean, I don't think CPAC is doing a litmus test for conservatism necessarily.
What was their standard by which they didn't invite him?
That's a great question. I'm not CPAC, and unfortunately, I think Chris Christie should be there. I'm really upset at him more for actually saying that the pork in the Sandy Aid bill was okay than actually this other stuff. What made me upset
I think what
is
stuck in their craw was him going after Speaker Boehner, and then, then accepting the whole Medicaid thing as part of the health care law, maybe
exactly.
for perfectly valid reasons, but he looked too malleable on these issues.
Listen, he should speak. There's other governors who like Bob McDonnell speaking at CPAC, and he just he hiked taxes in Virginia, or he's about to hike taxes in Virginia, and he's speaking there.
They just, the funny part is the big winner in this whole CPAC thing is Chris Christie. He's running in an overwhelmingly Democratic state. For him to go to CPAC would have been a huge political error if he's running for re-election, which he is
that's
this year in New Jersey.
point.
And I think it makes
they've actually done him a favor.
But if you're Chris Christie, could you turn around and you almost wonder, these same Republicans who are rejecting me, the economy gets a little bumpy, or Republicans lose control of the House, they're going to come running back to me like nobody's business.
Well, I think the free thinkers are looking at Christie like, yeah, he's not going to CPAC. He tells them like it is, and I think.
But normally, civil wars within parties are not constructive to that party. Not in the first year.
But you're going to see Christie move, I suspect, significantly to the right the minute he's getting through this New Jersey election.
Well, business guys like him, Ron, back to the very DNA of this show, they love him. They think that he preaches to their choir, and he's the guy who has the best chance. Are they right?
I think, it's great that he talks straight. I think he has put in some decent economic policies in New Jersey. Do I think he's a legitimate contender? Yeah, I think he is. Should he run? Sure, he should. But I think there's other candidates who are probably better for Republicans in the future. Someone like Bobby Jindal, who's totally turned around a state that was absolutely corrupt, absolutely bankrupt, and turned it into a great state. I think there are other candidates like Rand Paul and Marco Rubio who are young and fresh and offer some really promising things. I don't think necessarily Chris Christie has to be he's not any savior of the Republican Party per se, and he's not a great articulator of conservatism all the time. People like him because he speaks what he thinks, and there's something to be said about that. There's a lesson for politicians there too.
All right. We will come back and steal you guys. You hang on there, young lady. We're going to have more on a lot of other issues on